So we have, we're in Perek Beis, we started Perek Beis. Hine atachlis bebria, hoyu lehetiv mituvo yizborch shemoy lizulosoi. The purpose of creation is hatova. Really very simple, it's one word. The purpose of creation, why the Hashem has created 100 billion galaxies. I mean, let's take a look what it requires. Each galaxy has 100 billion stars. And there are 100 billion galaxies. All that, the human brain has, the human body has 100 trillion cells. Each one unbelievably complex. So when I just read that the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract, to regulate the hormones and food going through it and all that, it's 100 million nerve cells. I mean, it's beyond belief. All this for one word called Hatova. Yes. 100, it's just beyond belief. So, Ramchal says that the purpose of creation is Hatova, which is goodness. There are many questions, obviously. The first question is, well, why would he want to do that? In other words, what's the motive of the concept called goodness? The truth is that we don't know. The Hashem has never revealed why he wants to do this. We know what his objective is. The objective is Hatova. And obviously, if the objective is Hatova, that's also his motive. But why does he want to do that? He doesn't have to do that, And we know that the Hashem is not toiv intrinsically. Toiv itself is a created concept, isn't it? The concept of good, to be good, or the concept of goodness itself is a nivra, is a created concept. God isn't good per se. God acts good, or he behaves in a good manner.
It's the first created concept?
Well, I'm going to mention that because I had mentioned that a long time ago, But we don't really know why the Moshe wants to do that. I mean, we're glad that he does want to do that, obviously. But, we don't really know why and so on. But in any case, that is true, that he's mated, that he created for goodness, and fundamentally the recipient of that goodness is mankind. So that's an important idea, that the recipient of goodness is mankind. Second concept is that we know that the objective always comes first, the tachlis, right? The tachlis always comes first. The objective or the ultimate goal of anything is always the first thing to be considered. Why is that? Anybody know? Why is the first thing to be considered the goal or the objective?
Because it drives everything. Whatever happens, it drives it. Whatever happens, it happens because of that.
Yes. Because it determines, if that's the purpose, then clearly everything else has to be fashioned to create that purpose or to make that purpose possible. So obviously, you don't know what to make, you don't know what the device is unless you know what the objective is. Because clearly the device that will lead to Hatova, right, has to be of such a nature where it will lead to that Hatova, you see. So in order to make the device or whatever, the conditions, you need to have the goal first. So therefore we see that the goal of the Bria, of totality of everything, is Hatova, is goodness. That tells us also something very important, which I think most people don't realize. If you were to ask someone, what is the first thing that was created? Literally, what is number one on the list of those things created? Well, what must it be then? It must be the concept of Hatova. If everything afterward, right, if everything after is determined by the goal, right, so obviously everything after everything has to come after it.
But if Hatova is something that exists, then Hashem had to create existence first.
Well, wait. Go slow. Wait. Let's first understand. So the concept of Hatova comes first, which is very interesting. That the concept of Hatova was the first thing created, and everything follows. because everything will now lead to Hatava. And that answers an interesting posuk. You know, it leads to where it says, "V'chola she'osa damen bereishis toiv ma'oid." It's interesting, and everything he did was good. Like, what does that mean? It was good, fine, but is that what the posuk is telling us, that everything conforms? It was good, you know. But the real answer is because toiv was the tachlis, and everything conforms to toiv, which means that toiv was first. You see. So the concept of good came first, and then everything after that followed, because those are the conditions or the venue in which will lead to good, which is an interesting concept. Okay. So the question that we need to ask really is, what's the essential good? What is the definition of good? And therefore, what is the definition of evil? We need a definition, right? Who knows what the definition of good is? It sounds simple, but it's not. What does it mean? What does goodness mean?
You know what's good, what's not good, that's for sure.
Yeah, we know experientially what is good and no good. You know, whatever leads to pleasure, money, and all that comes because money will buy pleasure, it's all right. That's good, you know. But the definition of good would probably be anything that enhances being is good. And evil would be anything that detracts, interferes with, or negates being is bad or evil. That's the way you'd probably define it.
So the good life means it's just more life in a sense.
What being, the key concept is being. Whatever enhances being is good, whatever detracts from being is evil.
What do you mean to enhance? I mean,
Enhance means, well, being. What is being? So we have to look at enhance what? Being. Whatever detracts from being is bad. What's being really?
existence.
Existence. Which is interesting, that the reason why existence exists, it's a statement, is because it's good. So when you ask yourself, what exactly did God create that conforms to goodness? And the answer is existence.
Why can't Hatava, why can't Tov be a derivative of existence? In other words,
Because it has to come first.
Because meaning that in a pure sense, Hashem wanted existence. Hashem wants existence, and Tov just means more of that existence. Hashem wants existence.
No, Toiv, look, the amount of existence is one thing. The fact of existence is Toiv. If I ask you, what's
But
the
the Tov is
greatest
only
thing?
more existence, Rabbi said.
Different kinds
No,
of existences you can...
No, it works reverse. The greatest type of goodness is to be. Think about that. What's the greatest good that a guy can do? Is to be. Let's face it. If you exist, you can't get, forget about how you exist, or the level of existence, or the degree, whatever that means. But to be is clearly a lot better than not to be.
Maybe we usually don't agree with it because there is good life and bad life. So bad life.
I'm not talking about the quality of existence. Put that aside.
No, but that
I'm talking about the phenomenon of existence, being. You have to admit, the greatest thing that you enjoy is to be.
But somebody who suffers, he wouldn't admit it.
No. It's not true.
They still go through a lot.
It's not true. People would still, unless the suffering becomes intolerable. Don't get caught up in the degree of existence. Let's get in the fact of existence, right? To be is a lot better than not to be.
I'm sorry to beat the dead horse, but
Be a dead horse?
beat the dead.
But the dead horse is not being. So what do you? Why do you want to be
No, what bothers you is
the beat
that
the dead horse, but the what's it called the Tov in of itself. To my understanding so far, it can't exist by itself. It's like Rabbi said, accidental.
It's an accidental being.
But it's not. It needs something to. You can't. In my understanding, you can't have good without the good referring to something.
Yeah. So what does good mean?
So good means existence, which means existence had to come first.
Existence is the manifestation of goodness. How's that sound?
Why is it that?
Existence is the manifestation of goodness. But first there has to be a concept. There has to be a concept.
But it's just floating around. It can't. How can it exist without something to attach itself to?
That's true.
Yeah, but it's simultaneous. You know what I'm
And
saying?
there are two things created simultaneously.
Yes, yeah, that would be, yeah.
The existence and the aim and the fact that we need to aim for existence or
Yeah.
strive for
Yeah,
existence.
yeah. But remember, goodness is a concept.
Existence also is a concept before it.
Well, yeah.
So we're talking about
Also, how can something exist without
We're not
existing?
talking about history yet, but we're talking about real concept now.
Yeah, so obviously, the best thing that the Hashem could do, in a certain sense, is to create existence. But existence conforms to the, I think the tov would be an adjective, to the adjective called good.
The adjective is good. First of all, it has to.
So yeah, so one would say that they come simultaneous, that good is existence and existence is the expression of goodness.
Basically, existence itself plus the necessity to strive for existence, which is goodness, came into being exactly at the same time.
Yeah. Which is an interesting concept, because if that means existence itself is a nivra. Look at what comes out. Existence itself is a created entity. But then the question then is, well, what's the alternative? Well, if the most basic thing of all, if the basic thing of all is existence, and if that was created, so we know God existed before, so what does that mean? We don't know. You see,
it doesn't mean anything. There's no question.
The question is, what came before existence? Or what's the alternative to that? We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't
We can't know. We
We
can't
don't know. Does God exist?
It's a legitimate question.
It's a loaded question.
Illegitimate.
Because we right away we downgrade.
Sounds like
He
a
exists
moral
within this existence.
Transcends.
It's a level of breed.
No, but the answer to that is that, as strange as it
He is
sounds,
existence.
well, no, forget about how he wants to manifest himself. What comes out is that if existence is a nivra, because just like toiv is a nivra, existence is a nivra. So what comes out of that is that God doesn't exist, not because he doesn't have existence, he has some type of alternative to that we cannot comprehend. You see? In other words, God doesn't exist. He doesn't even exist the way we do. There's an alternative to existence. You see? Because existence itself is a nivra.
So then when Moshe,
Which is an astounding concept. You see, in other words, we're going into a place that we have no way of understanding. Because, the most fundamental idea to us is existence. There's nothing more fundamental
the
than
Shemayim
that.
is also part of existence.
Who?
The concept of Shemayim.
Shemayim?
Yeah,
that's
also part of existence.
Shemayim is a thing that has existence.
Right.
But
So where Moshe Rabbeinu was, with the Rebbeinu, whatever that is, that was that manifestation of existence.
Yeah. Well, the most basic things in the universe is two things. A thing, and that the thing has a quality called existence. That's it. All of us share one thing in common. We all exist. We hope so. Right? That's it. But then what exists? All kinds of things. The variety of what's called existential forms is almost infinite. But they have one thing in common. They all have this quality or feature called existence.
If this is such basic logic, let's say, by the Goyim, there isn't philosophical lines that parallel this?
Well, there is a branch of philosophy called theodicy. Be careful. If you foot back, nobody's going to catch you. There is philosophy has several branches. One of them is called theodicy, which is the study of God. Okay. And they have a lot of ideas about I'm not talking about Christian theodicy. I'm about theodicy in general, and so on, and what they say about the nature of God and so on. I would imagine, although I may be wrong, everybody assumes that God has existence. Everybody assumes that. In other words, everybody assumes that existence, there's a thing called existence, and God has it in much greater measure than we.
Superman.
So he's a Superman, I like to call him a supreme being.
But I'm saying, to them to say that we don't understand it and we can't understand it, that they'll never admit.
You know, I don't really know what they'll admit, but it's very uncommon, I think. I don't think people think in those terms of what I'm explaining now.
Right.
What I'm saying is like, It's like, it is so different the way people think. That in a certain sense, I mean, God doesn't have existence, chas v'shalom. Of course he does. But that he doesn't have it not because he doesn't exist. It's not the opposite. We don't know what the alternative to that is. Because mitzius, existence itself is a nivra. Most people don't understand that. They say, what? You know, like I say, everybody assumes everybody assumes that there's a thing called existence and God has it.
He's
And
part
so
of
on.
that existence. So.
Yeah. In other words, is God part of reality or is reality part of God? I like to put it that way. What?
Right.
Interesting, right? So God is not part of reality. Reality means what is. No, reality is part of God, means God gives rise to existence. You see, not that he is it. But again, not that God doesn't exist, but we don't know what the alternative to that is. This is our problem. And we will never know. We are limited by the fact that we need the quality called existence.
That's our bubble.
Well, that's our given. That's our essential condition. We cannot exist. We cannot know what exists, what non-existence is. Again, it's not that God doesn't exist, right? It's that he doesn't have the quality called existence. But that is so basic. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
You see.
existence is part of God.
Well, it's part of God in the sense that he created it. You know, reality emanates from him, not that he emanates from existence. That's about the most fundamental thing you could say about God. You see. Now, so the question then is, God creates existence, which is beyond belief. You know, and that's really the concept of bara. Bereshis bara Lakim. In the beginning, God created. You know, what that really means is that he created existence. And then the forms of existence, called the essential forms, you see. So if you ask yourself, what is the greatest toiv? And the answer is to be. I mean, we clearly understand that.
Even for a diamond?
Anything. Well, a diamond doesn't experience existence. We do. A diamond has no awareness of its own existence. It has no consciousness, right? So we're not talking about, nobody knows what consciousness is anyway, you know, and so on, you know. But we are aware of phenomenon. A table is not. It is, but it has no awareness of its own existence. And it's not just a table, an animal. Does a tiger know it exists? No. Doesn't think about it.
Doesn't the Zohar say that we don't know what happened in another Gilgul, but an animal knows what it did in the last Gilgul?
That's way, no, that's out. That's out. I'm not even talking about that. I don't want to get sidetracked into that, you know, what animals know, whatever, you know. But all I'm saying is that what I'm laying down, which is very fundamental, is that we're down at the bottom of the Bria, existence. So what I'm saying is that Toiv is the objective of everything, and what Toiv, whatever that is, you know, which it's also very hard to define, because when I say anything that enhances being, that means being has to come first, and then Toiv comes second, which is the thing that you wanted to point out. But the truth is, there is a, you know, because what was my definition? Anything that enhances being. Yes? So it's being enhanced. That's good. But that assumes that existence is first, and then good is second. Right? But the Ramchal doesn't say that. Toiv comes first, because it's the goal. Therefore, the concept of Toiv, which is not clear. You see, I don't really know what Toiv is, but whatever it is, existence is a product of Toiv. Got that? But I don't know what Toiv is
So
then.
aside from the Kaddish
Because
Baruch
our definition comes when? After existence. It enhances being, which means being comes first, and then Toiv. And evil is the opposite. Negate being. So if there's no being, there's no such thing as Toiv.
You're saying that there are really two things that transcend existence. There's Hashem, and then he created something else called Tov, and then he created existence.
Exactly, yeah. And therefore, based on that idea, I don't know what Tov is. I don't know what goodness is. But whatever it is, God decided that the best thing he could do was to bring existence into existence. Right? And then from that, everything starts. That's a very important idea, you should know. There's a lot of ethic, Musar applications, When you get up in the morning, you think about that, what's the greatest gift God ever gave you? Being. It's a lot better than the alternative,
How do you know that existence is on a tool in order to get to the greatest gift? And how do you know that existence by itself is already the greatest gift?
Are you talking about what I'm referring to now?
Yeah, what you're saying right now is that the greatest gift Hashem gave us is existence.
Yes.
How do you know that existence is on the tool towards the greatest gift? How do you know that existence by
Because
itself is the end?
being in itself is an end. I am. Just to be. The alternative is non-existence by us, not by God, right? The alternative is non-existence, like, nothing starts. There's nothing here.
Right.
There's no question that when you open up your eyes in the morning, the greatest thing you could say about the world is thank you for that I exist.
Yeah, but what you said.
Not only do I exist, but imagine how we exist. One, we exist as a sentient being, which means we have senses. We exist as a conscious being. Yes? Right? And it's not the conscious of animals. We exist as sentient, conscious human. We are human, not animal. They also are sentient and conscious. But we exist as a man, which means we understand, we have rationalization, reason. But not only that, we even more than that. We exist as a man and as a Jew.
So
And not only that, and not only that, we exist as a Jew and as an observant, that we understand what the Torah is, right? Incredible. There's nothing that beats it. You don't realize, we are the select, sounds quite arrogant, but we have the greatest thing we can ever have. We are all Ben Olam Haba in that sense. Wait. We're all Ben Olam, means we exist as, we are sentient, means we have senses. We are conscious. We are human. And we are Jews. And we are Bnei Torah. Or people who are Orthodox, I should say Torah observant. You can't get, we are princes among men. You can't get, it's too bad people don't realize that, But it's the greatest gift of all. Therefore, we can earn our Olam Haba.
So then a nivra on the table, like you said before,
Yes.
who has none of these qualities.
None of it, except
That
existence.
means the hatava of a table
Yes.
is only in relationship to that Yid who's observing.
Correct, yeah. You have to say that a table, right? You have to know who is the recipient of all this stuff. Is man. Mankind, not just Jews. It's
Tables don't
mankind.
get into Olam Haba.
What was that?
Tables not going into
No,
Olam Haba.
this type,
No,
this
tables
type,
don't
this
get into
information,
Olam
this
Haba.
type.
Tables don't get into Olam Haba. I mean, there are existential forms.
The table, what that mean?
What I mean.
No, tell the Ruchnis.
Well, there is a ruchnis to tables, but tables don't have consciousness. Will table have consciousness?
Malachim get in there?
What?
Angels, are they going into Olam Haba?
Yes. Yeah. No, but there's a tremendous difference between you and a malach. A malach is a sentient, conscious being. It's not human, but it has its own laws. There are its own laws of, so to speak, of physics, But the thing is, a malach will exist eternally. However, it can never go beyond the level it was created as. We can aspire to levels infinitely greater than malachim. Infinitely greater than malachim. They can't. They are created at a certain level, and they're fixed, kavua.
But they're not.
We are oile
But they're
and
not destroyed.
Yuri. What?
They're not destroyed before Olam Haba.
No. As far as the only malach that is destroyed, okay, is a son. But even then, we don't know. Is he destroyed literally, or is his shlichus destroyed, his agency destroyed, but he survives as a regular malach? I mean, I don't know if anybody was going to associate with him, because what this guy did to us is terrible. I mean, he's responsible for all the evil, for all the bad things in the universe. I mean, the death, decomposition, it's all Zoyama, it's all him. and so on. But this is a very fundamental idea. In fact, you can't get more fundamental. The concept that toiv is the first thing created, and therefore we have no definition for it. And the second concept is existence itself is created. You see, and that's the best thing God can do for us, is existence. Okay? Now, so that's a very important idea. And that's why it says, and God looked at everything he created, and if he has to sum it up. What's the summary of all this? Ki toiv moed. Which means that what the Baruch Hashem is saying is that everything I did conforms to the original goal. That's what it means. There's not one thing I created, the Baruch Hashem says, that doesn't conform, which means doesn't have its rationale or doesn't serve the purpose of toiv. Now that's incredible. That's incredible because it's not only, it means all the acts, everything, the way the universe looks, the way it behaves, and so on, it all conforms to toiv ma'oid. Very good. And ma'oid is the same oisis as Adam, man. You see. So the universe is the ultimate conformity to good and so on. Very important. What the Ramchal lays down is it's critical. It's the most basic thing you could talk about, which is interesting because most people don't recognize it as such. They don't think of God when God has no existence. He doesn't. And so on. He has an alternative that we do not know. How do we see this? Because as the Navi says, Yeshaya, the Baruch Hashem says to the Navi, V'amit dam yuni. Who are you going to compare me like? V'eshver. And I will be compared to that. Means, what can you say about me? And I will be that. Nothing. Yom HaKodesh. So the question is, okay, we can't say God is smart. That means we're smart, he's smart. No. We're not compared to his intelligence, so to speak. But what about God is? We are, and he is. Even that you cannot compare me. See? Because his ising is different than our ising.
Anybody says that, the Parish,
What?
that Hashem does not exist, but he created existence? Like, is that Derech Hashem speak about it?
There is a place, I have to recall, where the Ramchal does say that. I don't know if it says in Derech Hashem. Derech Hashem, he clearly says that all the attributes of God are nivroim. It says later on, that's first. It's clear. It means God is not a racham, he's not a chanun, he's none of this stuff. They're all nivroim, and God assumes these behaviors as his guise, which, that's the concept of Tzelem Elokim. But he's not that. He doesn't have chesed in him. Chesed is a nivro. It's hard to understand. What do you mean? When we say about God, what's the most fundamental feature of God is chesed. In fact, chesed olam yiboneh. The whole world is created because of chesed. You know what I'm saying? But God is not about chesed. He does not feel chesed. It's like, he doesn't feel chesed. He does chesed because that's his rotzen. God, what determines the behavior of God, so to speak? It's rotzen, what he wants to do.
But the rotzen is a creative concept.
Even the rotzen, but this is all after the nivra. It's all after how he appears to us, and so on. His rotzen, he does what he wants to do, I always get a kick out of Yoina, on Yom Kippur. I was very sensitive to a certain pasuk there, with the malochim, the sailors, not the angels, malochim, without an aleph, where they finally realize that, hey, it's the Baruch Hashem after Yoina. They come, because Yoina says, it's because of me that all this is happening, and so on. So they all pray to God and say, with an incredible statement, Ma shechofatzta osiso. What you want, whatever you want to do, or sisi you do. In other words, there is no ikov, there is no obstacle. Whatever you want, you can do. There's no obstacle. Well, I want this, but I can't do it. They understood there is nothing that is impossible for Baruch Hashem. The only thing that Baruch Hashem needs, so to speak, is his rotzen. I want to do it, I do it. Finished. And if God doesn't want to do it, he doesn't do it. There is no ikum, which is an incredible thing. He can do anything he wants to do. What stops him from doing anything is what? Because he has no rotzen to do it.
So Ratzon comes before Tov then?
Was that?
Is that what you're saying? That Ratzon comes before Tov?
Well, in a certain sense, you can't say that, because God wants to be native, you know. But what's the problem?
Ratzon is like, is
Ratzon-
it just...
It also has to conform to Toy, otherwise.
Exactly. God has a rotzen because it conforms to Toiv.
So all that we don't, all those
Yeah,
concepts come
you
together.
hear what you said, Eliezer?
It is.
You got it. You hear what you said? The reason why God has a rotzen, I mean, he manifests himself to us as a rotzen, is because that conforms to Toiv. Toiv beats it all out. So everything God comes across as, you know, it's not only the universe and cosmos and all that, but his attributes itself must conform to Toiv. So the fact that the Russian appears to have a rotzen itself is because that's Toiv. Look how fundamental that is and so on, you know, and so on, you know. Anyway, this is what the Ramchal says, but I'm obviously going to much greater depth and so on and so forth. But in many ways, here it is. He has this and so on. So it's a very profound concept. Now, he says, Leheitav mituvoi. What do you mean leheitav mituvoi? To do good from his goodness. Why? Because a being that is good wants to do good. See, part of the concept of being good, right, is you want to exhibit goodness to a zulosa. Well, he can't do good to himself. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he is good, he's whatever. So he wants to be able to do good. He wants to be mative. He wants to do good. That's part of the goodness. You know, if you have something great, you want to share it, you know. We have that's what, it manifests itself to us by a concept called sharing. You know, if somebody has something, he wants to be able to share it. We actually get pleasure by sharing something which was great and so on, you know. That concept is, you know, mimidis hatoiv lehitiv. As part of the concept of being good is to do good. Okay? So that's what he means. I gotta bring my thing next time. Yeah. Okay, so we got that, the concept of goodness. That's the first thing, it determines everything, and the greatest goodness, of course, is existence. Great. Kihu. Now, vihine tira, and behold, you will see that who levadi is bar shemoy hashlemus amiti, hamushim koach esrenis. Obviously, God is perfect. He's perfect. What does perfection mean? Perfection is what? It's an adjective, right? So therefore, God is perfect means his goodness is perfect. You see, right? It means God doesn't just not have goodness. He's perfect in his goodness. What does that mean, really? He's perfect in his goodness. Well, the first thing is goodness is a relative, perfection is a relative term. When we say he's perfect, of course he's not perfect. Relative to that guy who's imperfect, he's perfect. It's relative. It means perfection simply means normally better than somebody else's acquisition or display of that attribute. You see, that's what perfection is, right? But we say God is perfect, really perfect. What does that mean? That means there are no deficiencies. There are no deficiencies, there are no limitations, there are no dependencies. That's why I characterize it. God is not limited to anything he wants. He's not deficient in anything, you see, and he's not dependent on anything. He's perfect. What does perfect really mean?
Did you find it a few weeks ago?
I did? Mm-hmm. What was it?
You said that to be perfect means to be what could be already. In other words, potential equals actual.
The totality.
That's the word I'm looking for, totality. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
In other words, we don't, of course, we cannot understand, but the totality of the concept, right? That's perfect. In other words, there's nothing left. There's nothing outside because you've captured the totality. You know what I'm saying? So God is perfect means that whatever he wishes to display is the totality of that. Means there's nothing else beyond what he does. So when we say God is perfectly good, he's good, perfect means there's nothing left, there's nothing beyond his goodness. He's got the best, or the most, or the total. So in a certain sense, we say God is absolutely good. He's not relatively good, he's absolutely good. He's absolute, total. That's what it means to be total. So we say that he's perfect, means whatever he displays is perfect. There is no other perfection like his. Why? Because all other perfections, Ramchal says, is a comparison. You know what I'm saying? Be'erech el inyan chosmen and so on. But the shlemus of God, behechlet eino el shlemus. I mean, and God is the only one that has this perfection. Therefore, if God wants to do good, what's it going to be? Perfect. So if we say God is toiv, he must be perfectly toiv, and if he wants to be meitiv, he must be perfectly meitiv. Means there's nothing beyond the concept that he isn't doing. Got it? So if God wants to be meitiv to a human, it's going to be the totality of the concept of hatova. What is that totality? Or what is that goodness? Imagine if God appears to you, right? One night. Or rather, a malach will appear to you. Or better yet, the Hashem appears to you like he appeared to Moshe Rabbeinu, right? And he says to you, you know, I like you. Oh, wow, right? And then you say, I'm just overjoyed. You know, thank you so much, you know.
Any wish.
What?
Any wish, what do you want?
And the Hashem says, one wish. And don't wish for more wishes. Right? You know, I wish for another 5. No. Let's get away from that, right? Anything you want, I will give you. Remember, this is a once in a, not lifetime, in all existence opportunity. What would you wish for? What?
To be a chelik of our goods.
Who?
To be a chelik of our goods.
To be a part of God? Sounds nice. To be perfect?
Most people would ask to win a lottery.
I got
Not us,
something.
not us, because we
I know. Yeah, okay. Some people think in terms of lottery, you know, it's like, you know. Yeah, but which lottery, you know, there are different weeks.
Just get the money
The
straight.
$500
We need
million,
the lottery.
right? That's the lottery, right? Okay. So, anybody else? Come on.
And politically correct answer, we should choose him. We should
Wait.
say you, that's all we should say. But
You? What about you? What?
I want the ultimate good.
No. You can't. No. You don't look good. No. You need to tell me what you want. Give me a wish. What would you wish for? Money,
Yeah.
intelligence, chokhmah, strength, gvura. What would you like?
Brius, like all this, yeah. No.
Who?
Brius, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that he wants.
You can't. You got only one wish.
I mean, kill Hashem.
Wait.
I mean, it has to be, we don't understand. You know.
Well, the answer is very simple. It's very simple. If the Rebbe appeared to me and he asked me what would I like, and I have one wish, I would simply say, I want to be like God. I don't want to be a chelik of him. I want to be God. Just make me God. Make me a God. That sounds strange.
Dangerous.
What?
That sounds dangerous.
Listen, you know, the Moshe said that. I'd say, I want to be God. I want to be like you. Why? Because you can do everything. I want to be able to do everything. Which includes the lottery. It includes everything, right? I mean, it's all inclusive because if you are God, you can do anything.
It's a lot of hard work, though.
What?
It's a lot of hard work, I would say.
Hard
Look
work.
at the earth, you got your hands full.
That's what we
If
want.
the goal is toiv, come on.
No, that's
you
his
have to
goal.
go.
He didn't say that's my goal. I just want to be God. What's the problem?
And by definition, you're not God. That's not your goal.
No, but that's my wish. Listen, Where do we find that? Where do we find that wish in the Torah?
In Torah.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's somebody who actually was offered that wish. You remember Chava, Adam's wife? You remember the snake? What did the snake tell her? A couple of nice arguments.
Someone kill a kid.
Yeah, you'd be like, God, like, what's the problem here? Yeah, you would be like God.
Right, right, right.
It's, why? You find that claw like that. The Noach said, if you eat from this tree, you would be like God. Wow. No wonder she ate from the tree. That's as if God appeared to say, give me some wish. And she said, fine, Her mistake was that, she ate from the tree. Of course, she saw she wasn't, and so on, But the idea is that that's the greatest gift of all. So wait a minute. Here's the problem. So if the Rebbeinu Shalom wants to give you the greatest hatova, because he's a native, that means he wants to make you into a god, doesn't he? It's very interesting.
What does it mean?
What?
What does it mean?
Exactly. Well, we're going to examine what that means. But isn't that logical? If the greatest hatova he can give to you is make you God, or a god, whatever, right? Hey, listen, I'm satisfied being a junior god. So I won't be like him. I'll be his assistant.
Under his supervision.
You're fine, but just make me a god. Make me a junior god. Wait, a junior god. Fine, okay. So, okay, no problem, So listen to this. So then the question is that what really happened? Did God make us into junior gods, so to speak? And so on? Because that really is the greatest, the Ramchal says. Here we go again. So he says, since God God wants to be made to Rizosoi, so the Ramchal lo yaspik lo be made to ksas toiv. He's not going to give you the nice goodness. Oh no. He's going to give to the bruim, the recipients, right, the greatest toiv that they can accept. Nothing less. It means that if he hasn't given you more, it's because you existentially cannot get more. It's like up to the hilt you get. That's incredible.
So it's not like him, it's as much as the Nibra can handle.
What?
As much as the Nibra can handle.
Yeah, we limit God, not him. Important idea. We limit
But if
what
he's
he
starting
gives
out
us.
with a blank slate, so then why did he make a Nibra that can only accept this much Tov?
No, I'm talking about a nivra in the greatest type of nivra. Forget about now, we are incredibly limited. But the Mahabo means, a nivra has a certain max capacity. So he will be made to us in the max.
Just by the fact that it's a Nibra.
Yeah. So it's like somebody once asked. I think it was the Kotsky. They asked him, "Where is God? Where is he?" So the guy says, "Wherever you let him in." It was we limit his entry, not him. You see, as far as the Boshim is concerned, I want to go all the way to you, whatever that means, right? You limit my entry because you don't want me, you want to do other things and all kinds of stuff, That's why, where does that concept come from? What do you mean, wherever you let him in? That clearly says we're the ma'akev. We're the ones who provide the obstacle, not him. And that's why is that true? Because that's hatova. That's what it is. The Moshe says, as far as I'm concerned, I want to give you the best, the greatest, perfect, that you as a nivra can receive. And so that, the limit is your being, the limitations of your existence. It's nothing more. Then of course the second limit is our will. Well, how much do you want? But that's what the Moshe wants to do. So what we now understand is that if that's the case, so the greatest gift you can make me is to be a God. So therefore the question is that what he did? That is the question. It's an interesting question. Did God do that or not? Yeah. And the answer is, he did do that. Wow.
It doesn't feel like it.
You should better believe it doesn't feel like that. you know, you know. I want to tell you something. Forget about being a god. We don't even feel like a man. We don't even feel. I don't mean man, literally man, but we don't even feel. Half the time we walk around saying, I'm not even a mensch. I'm not even a human. You know what I'm saying? And so forget about you know. But the answer to that is God did make us a god, in the capacity or the maximal potential of a human. That's the question. And the question, of course, is what does that mean and how? Okay, for that we have to wait next week.
Oh, maybe a little hint.
What?
a little hint, maybe. We want to feel like man at least.
Want to feel human,
That gets into the next thing our heart talks about. Just take a look at the page, although you have to go slow and understand what the Ramchal is saying and so on. But the truth is he did. Remember, we limit him. As far as he's concerned, he wants to do absolutely everything. We limit what he can do for us because we are Nevroim. We are, in the end, we are given existence. Is the problem, right? But as far as that, if you put that aside, he did. He gave us the max.
Means we can give existence to something else, in this sense.
Um,
In this sense.
No, that's not the uniqueness of God.
What's his uniqueness?
Is that he's a Nisan, not a Makabel.
made
He's a Nisan. God, remember I said God is perfect, right? He's not deficient. He's not dependent. Only God is perfect that way. God does not receive. He's a giver. He doesn't receive, because if he would receive, that would mean that what? That he's deficient. So therefore, in some capacity, he wants to give us the ability, right, to give and not be makabel at all. And from that we get into, in many ways, what the Baruch Hashem did for us.
Oh, it's almost pure giving.
Yeah. We'll understand that next week.
Based on what you said, if this is the whole concept and goal, why are the rules of the game so elusive? Why are they so hidden? Because you mentioned we're human, then you go over to we're Jewish and we're Torah, aware of Torah, and even then a small percentage may come across as proper information, and then who could really cop it to the full extent, to work it and live the every. Why is it so hidden and so elusive to the world at large? The basic fundamental rules of the game. People we're walking around clueless pretty much to what this the whole intent
The
of it
answer
was.
to that is that we are living 5,773 years after the creation. You see, so the history of mankind has put us into this matzav, but it wasn't this way by Adam Rishon. Nor was it this way in the beginning. It got much worse. Because the consequences of sin is darkness, you see. So therefore, whatever we have to do, the environment of our job changes. Right now, the environment of our job is what? Is unbelievable hester, concealment. Originally, it wasn't that way. The job of man, when he started out by Adam Rishon, was unbelievable ha'ora, light, enlightenment. And when that was his environment to succeed. But as time went on and man didn't care about the enlightenment, he refused, right? It got darker and darker and darker, and that's the outcome, and so on. We're finding 5,773 years later, we're in black darkness, because that's the environment that is necessary for us to succeed in. Obviously it's going to be limited. But that's the environment that we have to succeed. So that's what you have to consider. The progression of man's history, you see. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we'll continue and we'll take a look at what happened in the beginning and so on, But anyway, this is some of the fundamental ideas. Very, very important ideas. Very fundamental. Very profound ideas of what's going on and so on. And we'll just continue next week. What can I say?
Thank you very much.
Now, what?
All the days of creation
Is that still on?
with,
Yeah.
and
Well, shut it.
Hashem saw it was good. I thought on the day the moon was created, didn't say, and he saw it
It
was
wasn't
good.
really.